AITA for going off on my sister's foster mom after she celebrated the fact that she's now an orphan. For context, I raised most of my 6 siblings, and we all got put into foster care in October. Back at the very start of November, my youngest 2 siblings were placed with them. The visits were every other week at the start, and at the first one I showed up having not seen them in 2 weeks. When they arrived, the youngest of the 2, 9 months now, was asleep in her car seat. She insisted that I shouldn't wake her, despite only having an hour. I woke her up to interact, and the 3 of us just read books together on the chair. Just general interaction. No fussing or anything happening, but she was glaring at me the whole time. A few days later, on an unmandated visit, the 9 months shows up asleep again. I wake her up, all 7 of us hang out, and then I give her back. 2 hours after returning home, she messages the foster family I was with at the time and makes them talk to me about not waking up the baby. I told them she could go to HLL. That night I texted her about how she would never be my sister's mother. I deleted it and apologized the morning after, but it was pretty nasty in 6 paragraphs. Fast forward a little bit and my mother ended her life. Because of this, we were granted weekly visits instead. Days after, we had a visit and this woman was ecstatic. My siblings and I were there, the older few of us just dumbfounded by all that's happened, and there she was smiling. This time she came with the baby in a carrier, so I couldn't really just take her out. After 10 minutes I went up and asked to hold her. She replied that I couldn't right now, despite that fact that the baby was awake. I asked her it 4 times before the visit ended. I managed to not lose it, but on the next visit she shows up gushing to all the other foster parents about how she and her husband are so lucky to get orphans on only her 3rd placement. I didn't say anything, but that ticked me off. I had just switched my own placements and my foster moms didn't know about the previous incident. During yesterday's visit, she kept talking the same way, saying things like it's sad she passed away and all. But I've always wanted to have kids and it's so nice to adopt babies, That way they're not all messed up and disobedient later on. Especially when you won't have to deal with their bio parents. I don't know if it's just me, but that in combination with everything leading up to it just set it off. At the end of the visit, when it was just my 9-year-old brother, me, my foster moms, my brother's foster mom, and her. Her husband took the kids to the car while she was hanging back to talk a minute longer with the other moms. I did not hold back, screaming at her for a good 4 or 5 minutes about how she isn't a saint, to never mention my parents like that. She will never be a real mom to my siblings and just generally duck you. She looked genuinely upset, and today my therapist suggested that I might have blown it out of proportion because of pent-up anger from other things.